All right, hello everybody, Conman here. Happy Sunday. Hope everyone's having a good weekend. Got a little bit of random gameplay footage in the background, which is not directly related to what I'm about to talk about, but at the same time, sorta is. So we'll let that go for a little while. Anyway, if you've read the title of this video, your question is, does Heroes of the Storm have a quick match problem? Does Blizzard have a quick match problem in HOTS? Kinda clickbaity, but I'll run with it. So this isn't a new debate. This has been going on for a while, since pretty much as long as Heroes has been around. But I think it's come to the forefront again based on this season and the rank trouble that preceded the beginning of it with the reset. So quick recap, I'm sure you're familiar, but just in case you're not. So at the launch of this season, which was predicated on the 2018 gameplay update, supposed to introduce performance-based matchmaking, which was supposed to kind of streamline kind of climbing up the ranks based on your performance in any particular hero. Well, that went through, and it turns out that there was a problem. The initial seeding for Hero and Team League was off for a lot of players. So you would get stuff like there were some Grandmasters that were placed into Platinum after their placement games, and some Plat players that were placed into Master, and all kinds of craziness that was going on. So ultimately what happened was there was a semi-reset and there was a fix, but that didn't quite do it. Then they put a hold on the whole thing and they reset everybody. I think they might have even reset everyone twice. So there was definitely some confusion about Hero League, when it was going to be okay to play it. I know there were a number of people who had to play their placement games multiple times, which isn't exactly the most fun thing in the world for anybody. And so as a result, myself included, a lot of people went and played some more quick match, waiting for Hero League to kind of steady itself, I guess. Basically, we're waiting for the all clear. Now, as of this point, I still have not played personally any of my placement games in Hero League. I've not dived into it. I'm sure at this point others have. It seems like it's safe to return if you haven't already. But the fact that it brought kind of more people playing into quick match, it brought some of the potential problems of quick match back into the forefront. So before we go any further, when I say problems, I want to base this assumption on that the intended, and I use quotes there, the quote-unquote intended way to play the game as designed is some sort of draft mode, whether it be Hero League or Unranked or Team League, some sort of draft mode, so one of the three there. And the reason that I make that argument, and you can debate me if you like, but the reason that I make that argument is that's where Blizzard will balance most of their abilities around. Like, most of the heroes get balanced around that particular mode. That's the mode that the professionals play. If you watch HTC or you watch some other tournament, that's the mode that's played. You've got your two teams. They know the map. Maybe there's a way that they pick the map or ban out certain maps that isn't directly into the game. But either way, they know what map they're going to be playing on, and they go through and they draft their heroes, and they ban out certain heroes, and that's how they get into the game. And that's the mode that I'm basing these potential problems of quick match on. So why do I say that quick match could be a problem of to that particular mode, or progressing to that particular mode? And really, I think the reason is it doesn't properly train people to play rank play. Like, it doesn't instill in them the habits that they need, and the tendencies that they're going to need to play that. And what you ultimately find is that there are a number of players that finally make that jump from quick match, because there's no other intervening, maybe unranked draft, but you find a number of players that make that jump into ranked play, or at least into draft play, and then are just sorely unprepared to play a draft mode. So there are a couple of reasons. I'll try not to go too in-depth just in the interest of time, but let's go through real quick. So first off, in quick match, there's no role enforcement. There's no standardized composition. So it's the Wild West, for good and bad, and we'll talk about that a little bit further down. But for good and bad, there are no standard comps. You could get whatever kind of crazy ass comp that you can get into. You can queue up as a 5-man if you'd like to, as a full group, with whatever crazy composition that you would like. Not that you can't still draft a crazy composition if you want to, but it's less likely, especially in a Hero League environment. But that's what you get most of the time in quick match. Look at the game that we're looking here in the background right now. This is from a quick match game. This is just random footage that I picked up from a quick match game, and I thought it perfectly illustrated this. As well as one of my further points is that, we're on Battlefield of Eternity, which is a 2-lane map, and we have 3 specialists. Okay, I'm playing as Medan, but we also have a Murky and we have an Azebo, and the enemy team has Lost Vikings, which is not really good on this map. Like, you shouldn't be playing Lost Vikings on Battlefield of Eternity. So there's no standardized composition. Like, I don't think in any comp you're going to find 3 specialists. You know, you're going to find 5 assassins. These are things that you just aren't going to get when you start to play draft mode for, you know, most of the time. And unfortunately, I think what these crazy compositions lead to, you know, it leads to bad macro play. You don't really learn, you know, how to rotate well. I think because of this, you know, you'll get stuff like games without healers. You know, so there's a large portion of games where you end up having to back and go back. You know, you have your wells down. You know, you have to go back to the hearth, to Nexus rather, to heal up because you can't get healed up. There's no way to do it, and it disrupts the flow, like the normal flow of a standard game that you would get when you play draft mode. It may make you, you know, kind of you may get away with more mistakes than you would in a standard composition. Maybe you've got 5 assassins, and suddenly, you know, you learn bad habits, like, oh, you can just dive in on everyone and kill them all, and that might work in a game that they don't have any heals, you know, but that generally isn't always going to work against every single team comp that you're going to find when you play draft mode. You know, there was a big debate when, for example, when Valera was released, and she was just a really hard, she's very hard hero to play against in Quickmatch, and it could present the I won't say misinformation, but it could present the appearance, there you go, the misappearance that Valera is a really strong hero, and conversely, it turns out that in Hero League she's really not. She really wasn't a very good Hero League hero, in rare, you know, except in her very particular circumstances, partly because she was very easily countered, and those counters didn't always come up when you played her in quick match games, and so you don't get standard compositions. So the next couple of items here that I've got are really, I kind of labeled them on my notes as 2A, 2B, 2C. I think they all kind of tie together. So first off, you've got unclear or bad role differentiation. So when the game first started, you know, there was, you know, a quarter of as many heroes as you have now. I forgot what the exact number was. There was only the 4 roles. So you've got your warrior, your support, your specialist, your assassin. So now we've got 5. Now we got multi-class, Varian's in his own little bubble. But we now have almost 80 heroes altogether, and we still have those same 4 roles. But those 4 roles really aren't clear. They don't do a very good job of explaining what the hero actually does. And especially for new players or players that are underexperienced, you know, they just see the icons, they look, okay, warrior means tank, right? It's got a shield, that's what it does. But it's not always the case. You know, you'll get somebody like a Sonya, or get somebody like a D.Va in this game here. D.Va, who, yeah, they're a warrior, but they're not really a tank. They're not a main tank. They don't you know, do the things that you would expect a main tank to do. You have somebody like Tyrande, or even Tassadar to a degree. Sure, they're support. They're labeled as support, but they're not healers. You know, they don't heal people like you would expect a real healer to do. And those are not clear to people. And this, you know, this isn't a purely quick match issue, but it's something that, you know, if the first experience that you have is playing against other people in quick match, you know, you don't know the difference, and it's not clear, and that should be where you should learn it. You should learn it there before you go further. Is kind of where I'm going with that. Tying in it to the unclear or the bad roles is you have questionable matchmaking. The matchmaking in quick match is sometimes iffy at best. This is a prime example. Again, look at the game we've got. Somehow it paired me up with 3 specialists. Don't understand why, or 2 other specialists. I don't understand why, but it sure did. And in addition to having the unclear roles, like some of the things, like I think Sonya, for the purposes of quick match matchmaking, like the rules that it does use, like Sonya counts as a bruiser, but not necessarily a tank. But so does somebody like Alarak is, I believe, a bruiser for the quick QM rules. I think Thrall is also a bruiser by the QM rules, and you'll end up with games where you have like Alarak and Thrall on one side, and then D.Va and Sonya on the other side. And yeah, I mean, they're both bruisers, but they're not, like, it's a weird matchup. It's a weird matchup, and it makes things difficult and not necessarily fun, and it doesn't, you know, teach you, it doesn't, you know, properly prepare you to play further draft mode, excuse me. And you can also do stuff like queuing up with a party, groups of 3, groups of 4, groups of 5, because they grew up and because they can queue up together, they're going to break those whatever rules are already there, which makes it a little more difficult to even, get a real composition. And then finally, in kind of 2C, again, playing into this point here, this game that we're looking at, not all heroes are going to be good on all maps, and you don't know the map that you're picking. You don't know the map you're going to play on. The Vikings are not good on Battlefield of Eternity. I don't think that's in debate. I don't think that the player who picked the Vikings would have wanted to play Battlefield of Eternity. I think they would have much rather had Garden Terror or something like that. Had they known they were going to be playing BOE, I imagine they would have picked a different hero. Maybe not. Maybe you just really wanted to play Vikings, and that's fine. But this, I think, more often than not, this isn't something that you would do. Maybe this bit, you could argue that maybe this is a way that people learn that certain heroes aren't good on certain maps. Quite possibly that could be the case. But I think you're better off learning to play heroes on maps that they are good at, because those are the ones that you're going to be playing them more often than not. Like, I want to play my Greymane on Battlefield of Eternity because he's a good hero for that map. And like, let's get used to it. Let me get used to playing Greymane on a hero that I'm actually going to pick him on. Rather, like, I'm never going to pick Vikings on BOE, so why am I bothering to mess with this? Which kind of leads to the fact that there's no draft whatsoever, which is good and bad. It makes for quick games. We'll talk about it, but there's no draft whatsoever. So you can play the game, but you don't learn the draft rules. You don't learn anything about drafting. You don't learn necessarily what could make a good composition. You don't necessarily learn how to counter draft people. If you see if somebody bans out Tychus and they draft, say an Oriole or an Ana, maybe there's a good chance that somebody is going to try and pick Cho'Gall. And sometimes it takes a while to realize that. Like in Quickmatch, you just queue as that. You just queue up as Oriole Cho'Gall or Oriole Gul'dan or something, and you don't necessarily. You just hope that somebody isn't playing a Tychus, for example, something along those lines. So you don't learn how to draft well at all, really, when you play Quickmatch. And then, so yeah, you can learn how to play the game or learn how to play a particular hero to a degree, but then you get into this draft mode and suddenly everything's different. Suddenly everything is different. You don't necessarily learn which heroes work better with other heroes in a given circumstance. And these all lead to problems, especially when you consider the fact that Quickmatch, your Quickmatch MMR, your Quickmatch rating, so to speak, is the initial seeding point of your Hero League matchmaking. So let me be clear about this. If you've never played Hero League before, or Team League, whatever you've never played a ranked play before at all, or if you have not played ranked, I think it's 15 games, maybe it might only be 10, but if you've played 15 or less, it might be 10 or less games in ranked within the last season. So like last season I only played 15 games or 14 games, say. Then when I then go to play Hero League next, your initial seeding, your initial placement is judged by your Quickmatch matchmaking rating. And it could be, if you've done unranked draft, it'll pull from that, but otherwise it pulls from Quickmatch. And this is a problem because it's a completely different mode, just for all of the reasons that I just talked about. It doesn't train you well, and it is possible to kind of just boost yourself, or even just play well with a group of friends, to a very high QM rating, which isn't necessarily going to translate very well at all to a Quickmatch or to a Hero League rating, especially when you're on solo queue. And it's going to make for some very painful games, and it's going to make for some very unfortunate instances where you get paired with people that are just flat out more experienced than you are, or that particular player is, which isn't fair to your teammates and isn't fair to the opponents that you're playing against as well. So it's not a great situation. So definitely I think the conclusion I'm drawing here is there's definitely a problem with, and this is for somebody who plays a crap ton of Quickmatch games, there's definitely a problem with Quickmatch when compared to, like, it doesn't train you to take that next step into playing rank play. That being said, it still must be stated that Quickmatch is still probably the most played mode in the game. So if we go back to 2016 BlizzCon, I believe it was 2016 BlizzCon, they were going over like kind of the state of the game. They had just made some changes to ranked play at the time. Like, they had gone out of the preseason. They're in like the first couple of seasons of the game. They introduced unranked draft. They, you know, changed the way some things worked around. And they saw that Quickmatch had gone from something like 57%, I believe it was, to like 45, 46% most played, you know, compared 45 or 46% played compared to ranked mode Hero League, which was like 30%, and then or I think they just unranked period. And then AI games, and then unranked was the last one. But that's still almost 50% of the games, 50%. The player base is playing Quickmatch games over ranked. So, like, the majority of the games are still Quickmatch games. Now, again, this was a year ago, a little over a year ago now, but I'm not led to believe that those numbers have changed appreciably since that point. So why is that? And I think that's one of the main things that we have to look at. Like, how do we make this better? I think we have to understand what are the reasons that people are playing Quickmatch in the first place. I think a lot of debate that I read online between people, you know, yeah, they bitch about Quickmatch. Yeah, maybe we should just remove it. Maybe we should do this, or it's whatever. But you have to understand, still a lot of people are playing it. So what are the reasons? You know, I don't think you can properly, you know, look at making it better without understanding why people are actually going in. For starters, it's just quick. Like, that's the name, right? It's just quick. It's Quickmatch. Just a personal example. If I pick a random hero, a not new hero, like, everyone's going to want to play Blaze in a couple of days when he comes out, but if I just go in, if I load the game right now, and just pick a random hero that I want to play, and queue up in a solo queue in Quickmatch, I'm in a game in 10 seconds. You know, 10, 15 seconds my queue pops, and I'm ready to go. Whereas, in Hero League, if I were to queue for a Hero League game right now, it would be anywhere from 200 to 300 seconds before my game starts, and then I still have to go through the draft, which takes a little bit of time, and then I still have to wait for the loading screen. So all of that, like, multiple minutes before, from the moment I hit Q, before I actually get into the game and start playing for ranked play. Whereas Hero League, 15 seconds, and then you know, the load time, and then I'm already a couple of minutes in the game. I'm already, you know, a couple of minutes playing for the time comparatively I would be playing for ranked play. So yeah, it's a time saver. It's just fast. Like, that, there's a great reason. Like, it's just fast. You know, so that's number one. Two, as is said above, like, it's the Wild West, man. Play whoever you want. Play whoever you want. You can play whatever hero you want to play. I'm sure everyone and their mother is going to be playing Blaze in a couple of days when Blaze is released. You know, lots of people are going to be doing that. People are going to, you know, try to pick somebody who counters Blaze. You know, he's got a lot of health, a lot of percent damage coming up. But play whomever you want, whatever map you want to play. It doesn't really matter. You just play it. You want to play, like, I like to play Medivh occasionally because he's fun to play, but I have crap at him. I wouldn't pick him in Hero League. Even though he's not even a great QM guy, I still like to play him occasionally. So yeah, I can play him. It's great. Do whatever I want. I pick the guy I want to play as. It's fun. You could play those crazy comps even if you want to, and even if they don't make sense. Every once in a while, it's fun just for shits and giggles to queue up the 4 stealthies and just see what you can do, because you never know what kind of team you're going to be up against and stuff like this. You know, say what you want about this game that we're looking at here. This 3 specialist game, it was kind of interesting just to play it, just to see how it all worked out and see how the 3 specs kind of, like, you know, how do they complement each other or don't complement each other, as the case may be. So yeah, it's fun sometimes to do that and just do whatever it is that you want to do. Sometimes people play when they're just new. You know, like, what other mode are you going to play when you're brand new to the game? Like, I think you can't go from AI to ranked. I don't think you can go from AI to unranked draft. I think there needs to be a stepping stone where you can play against people, where you want to play against other people while you're not in that necessarily that more serious mode that even unranked draft I think is compared to Quickmatch. So yeah, you're just new, you just want to get experience, you just want to practice a particular hero. That's why you do it. Sometimes it's easier just to play with friends. You know, I play with friends who are especially friends that are of widely different skill levels than you may be. You know, I enjoy playing with people. I keep trying to bring friends into the game, and obviously they're brand new, and so what do? Like, you play Quickmatch. You know, you play a couple AI games, and then you get them into Quickmatch, and our skill levels are obviously going to be much different, and it's much easier to do that in a QM setting where you can kind of, you know, tell them exactly which hero to pick. All right, this is how you do it. You can set up particular combos with people, which works out quite well. So yeah, you just play with friends. It's easy to do. It's just, yeah. And I kind of said this already, but a little bit less serious. You know, as fun as it can be to play unranked draft or play Hero League, play Team League, there is a little bit more competitiveness that goes along with it. So sometimes it's fun to just to just sit there and mess around and pick a hero that you know you're not good at and you just want to play, and you don't have to worry about being like super tryhard. So yeah, Quickmatch is definitely why you would want to do that. So I think that, you know, again, not a completely exhaustive list. If you have any other ideas, let me know. But how do we improve it? How do we make it better? How do we make Quickmatch to better train people to play Hero League, or play, you know, to play the game the way it's, again, quote unquote, intended to be played? First off, clear roles. Kind of talked about this already, but break the roles up. You know, not having 4 roles. Make the difference between a tank and a bruiser. Make a difference between a support and a healer. There are probably other roles. I mean, that turns it from 4 roles into 6 roles right there. There are probably 2 or 3 more that you can go in, depending on how granular and how nitpicky that you would like to get. But definitely make the roles different from the get-go. Like, make it clear to people, these are what these heroes do. This is kind of what their intention is. This is the way they're kind of designed. Do it from the get-go. I think it really needs to be done that way. I think it's a long time coming. My understanding is from the 2017 BlizzCon, this is one of the things that was discussed, that they've been talking about it for a while. I've heard posts about it mentioned on Reddit and whatnot. But this is one of the things that they're planning to do. I just don't know when it's going to happen. But it really does need to happen sooner rather than later. You could, in correlation with number 1, have stricter matchmaking. So what I mean by stricter matchmaking is take, like, maybe add in additional enforcement rules in the quick, you know, QM matchmaking algorithm. Perhaps just take longer to pick a game. So this game that we're looking at right here, which is getting toward the end of it now. This was solo queue. I picked Asmodean. I solo queued up in about 10 seconds, and I was already in. 10 seconds. Now I would have gladly waited, you know, a little bit longer, just to get a more standard game, just to get a closer game, a more fair game, at least in terms of compositions. I mean, I don't think it's. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe people will disagree with me here. I don't mind waiting 30, 45, 60 seconds to give the matchmaking algorithm some additional time to find players that are picking particular heroes that make sense before I get into a game, if it makes for a more even game. You know, 60 seconds is still way quicker, at least for me, that it takes to get into any of the ranked modes, so let's do it. Like, I'm down with that. Like, can we do that? Maybe that's a way to do it. Another way possible is to potentially enforce a standard composition. You know, to enforce, and again, standard is quotes, but to enforce a composition, like, you have to queue up with, you know, you have to make a game that has a healer, and then has a tank, and then has a damage dealer, and then whoever else. You know, you have to have a game. If you're playing in a group and you're queuing up with 5 people, you have to queue up with this particular set of roles in order to get into a game. You know, could that be less fun? Possibly. Could that take away from what some people want to do? You're not going to get any of those 5 assassin games anymore. Could be good, could be bad, but it's a possibility. So lastly, we've got blind pick mode. So blind pick mode, for those people who aren't familiar, is a mode that is in other MOBAs. I think League has it or had it. I'm not sure. I don't play in League. Dota, I believe, uses it as well. Essentially, what it does is, you know your map in advance. They tell you the map that you're going to be playing on. You may or may not be able to see what the enemy team is picking, but your team, you all have 60 seconds. Everyone picks all at the same time, so there's no drafting. Everyone picks all at the same time. Each hero is unique, so there's no mirrors. So you can have some coordination with your team to pick a possibly standard comp, which isn't full-on draft mode, but it does give you some experience in crafting a composition that makes sense together. So what are the pros and cons? It has pros and cons. First off, I think if you're going to go blind pick mode, you have to remove Quickmatch and replace that with Quickmatch altogether. I don't think it has the player base to support both of those modes, so I think you really need to go all or nothing, which is kind of a big change. But pros and cons. Pros, you know the map you're playing on. You can pick heroes that are good, or are strong on that particular map. You can coordinate with your team to pick a comp that makes sense. Maybe if you see the enemy team, you could possibly draft a counter comp to them. You have a limited time in order to do that. It gets you some quasi draft experience before, without even having to get into a draft. So that's a good thing. I think that's good. The cons, you may not get the hero that you want to play. Somebody might lock up that hero before you, and maybe that's not what you want to do. Maybe you really just want to play the particular hero. Or it can also lead to has a potential, I should say, to lead to increased toxicity. you know, maybe you pick a hero that somebody disagrees with your pick, and then they flame you, and then everything doesn't end well. And there are all kinds of problems with that as well. And then toxicity is a hot button issue in general, but you can see where it could be going with that. So it does have its pros and cons, and so there, you know, it's debatable. So I guess the question is, what do you think? I mean, I appreciate you listening, letting me ramble for a little bit as I kind of go on. I do think overall, as it currently stands, Quickmatch it's fun. It's fun. Again, I play most of my games are Quickmatch games, either solo or with other people, but it doesn't train you to play ranked at all. Like, it just doesn't. And yeah, so in that sense, it's definitely a problem for the game. So what do? You know, do you agree with the things that I said? Do the 4 things, there are only 4 things here. Would that make Quickmatch better? Would it make it appreciably better? Would you still play Quickmatch if those changes were implemented? Would you play blind pick mode? Would you want to? Do you have better ideas? Again, wasn't a completely exhaustive list, but it's just something that's been rolling around in my head for a little while, and I kind of wanted to get it out there. Let me know what you think. Is there a better way? Is there an intermediate stepping stone between Quickmatch and ranked play that isn't draft? Because I mean, unranked draft, it's still a possibility. I mean, it sort of is the intermediary. I mean, you don't need to have your 14 pool of heroes all at level 5. I mean, you can definitely do stuff like that. So should you just go unranked from the get-go? I mean, what are the choices? Let me know what you think. Let me know if you disagree. Before I ramble on some more. Anyway, thanks for watching. Conman out. Take care. Bye-bye all.
Looks like a hero has switched their mind. Looks like that hero's back for more.
I'll have to tell the
Triple
Dryads
kill.
about this.